Today I'm joined by founder Evan Shelley of TruckParkingClub.com. Evan, thank you so much for joining the show today. I know you're at F3 in Cleveland. How's everything going today?
It's going well, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
No, of course, man. Of course. I've been following you guys for a little while, and it's a pleasure's all mine to have you here. I'd love to chat with you. I know you're at the show, so you've got about 20, 25 minutes. Let's talk about Truck Parking Club, a little bit of truck parking in general, and let's dive in. What's your background? How did you get into truck parking?
So my background has really been real estate for the last,
Okay,
I don't know, 7, 8 years now, where
interesting.
went to school and got a civil engineering degree, went into construction, and from that, I branched out into doing real estate deals. I had really been into residential real estate from a pretty young age, just getting acquainted from my grandfather. When I was younger, he was kind of into residential real estate, buying rental properties. Kind of the American dream, I would say, of like
Yeah.
buy a rental property, then buy another, then buy another, and he got me involved in one of the ones he was doing when I was in my teens,
Okay.
and I just caught the bug, I guess, and I didn't know it at the time, but that kind of got me into residential real estate in my late teens and then my early 20s, buying a lot of properties. And I was in the corporate world for a year out of college and ultimately went out on my own and started flipping houses. And from there, got into large commercial land development deals over the course of a few years, doing bigger and bigger deals. And when I was doing a commercial, really industrial deal back in 2021, I found out about truck parking on that particular deal because the property was zoned industrial, but the
Mhm.
municipality was telling me that they couldn't put truck parking there. So that's when the
Interesting.
light bulb flipped on, and I was like, "What do you mean you can't put truck parking on, an industrial property?" And then
Right.
I found out that it's actually a huge issue, and no one wants more of it, but there isn't enough of it. Um, and from there, kind of over the last couple years, really getting acquainted with people in the business, getting to know people, went out and tried to buy truck parking, operational truck parking, and real estate that had truck parking on it, and
Hmm.
found through that it was a hot real estate market while I was doing it, but also to scale it to massive size is actually pretty operationally difficult.
Right.
So after talking with people for, I don't know, 12, 18 months, um, came into what is now Truck Parking Club, where we just leverage technology and leverage existing space. So we don't have to build more space. We just take space that's already there.
Got it. So you
And
guys are trying to basically solve a pretty massive issue in the industry with truck parking, right? I mean, how big of an issue, Evan, would you say the truck parking is? I know that a lot of the bigger associations say that it's a top two to top five problem. Where do you think that's the case in this? Do you think that's the case?
yeah, I would definitely say it's probably, mentioned in a top three by most associations, by most companies would directly say that it's a top three problem. Um, and it's super interesting that it hasn't been figured out yet, that it hasn't been, what is the word, consolidated.
Yeah.
And not even consolidated in the sense of like one owner, but
Hmm.
consolidated in the sense of like there's 15 spaces here, there's 12 spaces here, there's 3 spaces there, there's 9 spaces over
Yeah.
there. Now trucker, you can come onto one platform and book that available space now, know it's there
Right.
when you get there. Like it's just super interesting that that hasn't been created in mass. I think there's been many companies that have tried to do it in some form or fashion. I think there's been many companies that have done it where you don't know real-time availability, but it doesn't really solve the problem
Right.
because we have a truck parking shortage, but we also have a truck parking awareness shortage, which is, you can have 100 spaces a mile away from you, but if you don't know they're there, are they really there? you know.
Exactly. No,
Um,
exactly. And go ahead.
no, I was just going to say that's our goal. That is the types of things we're thinking about as we build this company and getting feedback from our customers.
Now, why do you think truck parking has just kind of, I guess, for the a lack of a better phrase, like thrown to the side? Like it seems like no one wants it around, yet it's so needed in the industry. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, that's a good question. People, the average homeowner isn't going to want it near them because the assumption is it will lower the value of their properties. It's loud. It's there's crime, all these things, right? These are
Mhm.
all mostly stereotypes. Um, and because of that, no one wants it near them. Now, we in no way think it's okay for truck parking to be in residential communities. We don't support that.
Right.
We get that question more often than you would think from people like, do you support trucks in residential communities? And we do not. I wouldn't want to, truck and trailer parked in my community. I wouldn't expect anyone else to have to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and there's tons of code and zoning laws that kind of take care of that, but we're not in support of that. But we are in support of utilizing empty spaces that could be adequate for truck parking now. Um, what was the second part of your question? You asked me about having truck parking near them, and then was it building more of it? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So no, you're okay. So why? I guess why isn't it more available, or why isn't it being more? I guess considered, whether that be
Yeah.
like on a state level, a federal level, to really take care of these drivers.
Yeah, so I think it's just human nature, where if the issue isn't right in your face, then why would you ever do anything about it, right?
Right.
There's plenty of analogous examples that you could say, and I don't want to get into politics or anything because it's not here nor there, but the if the problem isn't in your face, directly affecting you, so I would say the fastest way to see change from like a state or federal or even local level is every time you buy an iPhone or every time you buy a pair of shoes, you see, a 20% fee or a 10% fee, and it says supply chain charge,
Yeah.
or it says, let's say it's a 5% fee and it's a truck parking charge, which
Hmm.
that'll never happen, but
No,
let's just
absolutely not.
say, let's just say it happened. Things
Yeah.
would change very quickly.
No, absolutely. I agree, and I think just to not get into politics, just going back to the boom of the pandemic and all the volume spiking, and people really realizing, kind of like what you said, if it's not in their face, well, everyone started to see what the supply chain is, how it affects them on a day to day basis, and really how things are getting to them on a more granular level than they ever had before because it impacted them, right? They weren't able to get certain things in a timely manner the way that they thought. Amazon shifted, away from their 2 day for a long time to say, hey, it'll be, 3 day, maybe 4 day. I'm here in Houston, and we have DCs all over the place, and it was still taking 3 or 4 days to get things because the volumes were just so incredibly high. So it just goes to show, kind of like what you said, if it's not in your face, the people aren't talking about it and aren't trying to advocate for that change to allow for more truck parking. But like you
Yeah.
said, we don't want to have this in residential areas, right? It doesn't need to be in a community of homes. It just needs to be available, zoned appropriately for truck drivers that they have somewhere to go.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
Now, one more quick question on this: how do you think the real boom of like van life and RV life that's boomed over the last couple of years has really contributed to like the parking deficit for truckers?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Um, I think in my mind, it's not something I've thought about a ton, but I know like us personally with our company, with our
Hmm.
97 locations, we get calls about asking for RV parking or just a truck, like just a normal four-door truck or something.
Yeah.
And if there's availability there, if it's not tight on availability, we might say yes. But if it's anywhere tight on availability, that doesn't align with our mission.
Yeah.
So we want all these spaces to be allocated to anything from a box truck, an oversized box truck, up to you know a tractor trailer or even an oversized. So for us, it's not something that we really put much effort into. We just typically say no, or that's not what we do.
Right.
I could see that, you know, it's possible that real estate properties have been converted into RV parks instead of truck parking. I could see that argument where it's like, well, I don't want to mess with truck parking, so we're just going to do RV parking because the demand is there on that as well.
Hmm.
I'm sure that's happened a lot. Um, but I don't know. You know, it's a good question, but I don't know how much it's impacted it. I could definitely see from a one other way I bet it happens is at rest stops. Yeah, I guarantee at rest stops, like the larger RVs probably do take up spots, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm sure that does happen, and I'm sure there is some percentage uh, that it's affected the market. It's just not. It's honestly not something I've thought a ton about.
No, that's totally fine. I was just kind of wanting to get your take on it. I know a lot of people just in my circle weirdly have been um, in RV life or van life as of like the last couple of years, just because it seems so obtainable. It seems so, let's go see the country, let's go see the world. And I know that like a lot of people, like I know a lot of areas that have developed more RV parking or RV spots or van life camping spots that could have potentially been, parking for truck parking. So just curious on your take on that. Switching gears a little bit, Evan. I know we've got some limited time here. Walk us through Truck Parking Club. How does it work? Are you guys website based, app based?
Yeah, so Truck Parking Club is a network of truck parking locations throughout the US, and those locations are made up of businesses like trucking companies, tow truck companies, CDL schools, real estate investors. I was trying to think of some others, home builders. We have anyone that has extra space in their yard
Mm-hmm.
can put their location on the platform. And what we really do is we help facilitate that transaction and that relationship between the trucker and that location because
Okay.
most of these locations are not in the truck parking business. They are in a different business, but they're business minded. And when they see the possibilities of taking this unused space and monetizing it, it's great. And at the same time, we create new supply of truck parking, which is a great mission for us. That we're we're in effect doing the same thing as going out and building it,
Mm-hmm.
but we can do it infinitely faster than traditional real estate development, which is my background, right? So
Right.
um, we can add spaces at a rate that is not even like we can essentially in one day through the awareness of a property owner who has a large lot do something that could take 18 to 24 months
Yeah.
for um, development in traditional real estate development, and not to mention um, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So we have created a platform that really is a two-sided marketplace, like an Airbnb.
Okay.
Um, and on top of that, we've changed the way that truckers can book their parking and get their parking. So they can go to the platform, which is it's a web-based or app-based.
Okay.
You can go to TruckParkingClub.com. You can go to the Apple App Store, and you can go to the Google Play Store
Links will
and
be right here.
download the app. And we also do bookings over the phone, which typically is just to get people introduced to the business. And a lot of times once they get used to it through that first initial booking, then they start using the app. But if truckers are driving, they know that they can call our hotline 888-899-7275. But we've really changed the way truckers are able to get parking because we have real-time availability. We give them the access to parking in real time with just a few clicks on your phone. And then you'll get a text message and email that tells you that you have booked this availability at this location, and you can book that in advance. So
No,
we've created.
that's fantastic. And not to I apologize for cutting you off, but
Oh no, I think there's a little bit of a delay.
You mentioned Airbnb there. So are you guys doing a subscription base, or is it per space? How does that work?
So there is no subscription model. That is something that we'll look to do in the future if carriers want it, and if we can provide enough value through it that it makes sense. But we don't charge anything to be on the platform for the trucker or the property member. We make money through a revenue share model, which we call our performance-based model. So if we make our property members money through bookings, then we take a cut of that revenue.
Very nice. So it's free to join and free to list your space if you have it, that sounds pretty intriguing. Now, how do you guys go about like vetting the spaces before they go active to make sure they're legit?
Yeah, it's a great question. So our payment processor does identity verification, just
Okay.
verifying that this business is who they say they are,
hmm
which does create friction in our process, but it also helps with any type of malicious behavior. So that's one way, and then also on top of that, we just internally vet every single property member to where we speak with them, talk with them, ask them about their operations, and a lot of times there are tweaks in their property. There are tweaks in the process of the operations of their property. Let's say it's a tow truck company, and I talk with them
hmm
and say, "Hey, Tim, it looks like you got parking in this side of your yard. Is there certain things we should be telling the truckers when they pull in? You want us to set up an automated message for you? Is there a gate code or anything of that nature? Okay, yeah, we need to add that." And we get to know all of our property members, and understand them and understand their operations and understand their business that is outside of truck parking. So we really get to know everybody and create a community. I would say it's interesting. We get some very interesting properties that show up,
I'm sure.
and I guess the assumption by them is that we'll just approve their location and they'll just go on the platform and then do whatever they're trying to do, like whatever weird behavior, illegal behavior, whatever it is they're trying to do. But we talk with every one of these locations and talk with them thoroughly and ask them about what is going on your site. Well, I'm a home builder. Well, I'm a tow truck company. Well, I'm a trucking company. We travel over the road. We actually found out about you on the road, and I thought I'd add your location. We did a podcast Monday, a couple days ago, with a trucking company. We went to their location in Kentucky, and they ended up going on our platform because they had a few extra spaces in their yard, and we had no intentions of putting them on the platform. But through the course of the podcast, we were telling them like about what we're doing and who's on our platform and all this stuff, and they're like, well, we should do that because we do have 5 extra spaces. And we're like, yeah, that sounds great. And so they became a
That's
property
awesome.
member.
No,
Yeah.
that's really fantastic, man. I love to hear that. I love what you're trying to do in the space, and I just have a few more questions for you. That
Yeah,
I
sure.
know I know a lot of people are probably wondering out in the audience. So since everything varies, from spot to spot, because you guys don't own the properties, you guys are obviously in these deals with property owners. So how do your amenities work? Do you guys have those? Do you guys have them listed? Can drivers like filter by amenity type that they're kind of looking for? How does that work?
Yeah, so every one of our locations has the amenities listed, whether it be restrooms, food nearby, pavement lights, cameras, 24/7 access, security. It's all going to show on every one of the locations on what
Awesome.
amenities are there. And then, we will help the trucker talk about what is there, um, and help them understand if it's a good fit. We get guys that maybe have high value loads or things of that nature, and um,
I was just going to
you
ask you
know,
about that.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And they'll ask us, is this location good? And our customer service is made up of former truckers. So
that's fantastic.
they talk with our truckers, our customers, through the location and say, well, I don't think this is a good fit. I think you need to go here. I think this location's a better fit for what you have. Um, so we'll help guide them to what we think is the best fit, um, and do things like that just to ease their. I mean, it takes time to like study these things, and we know all of our properties very well. So
That makes
um,
sense.
we'll help them through that, and we've structured our customer service in a way where when a trucker calls the customer service line, they're greeted by another trucker, and they
Yeah,
can really talk through. They can talk them into lots. They can talk to them about which location is probably best for them to book based on their travel times. And those are all things that, someone outside the business, like, to be honest, like if I get on the phone with customer service with a trucker, I do not do half the job my customer service team can do. I can't because I haven't lived it.
yeah.
And we've built our business in that manner.
No, I love that, Evan, because you guys are taking from every aspect, from customer service to the whole platform. You're taking the biggest stakeholder in the industry into consideration, which the driver is always forgotten in the industry. So I
It's
love.
bizarre.
Yeah, it is. It's I've been, like I said, I've been, I talked a little bit before we jumped on here, and I've been in the industry for about 6 or 7 years, and it's just so bizarre how the drivers are treated, and how nothing is catered to them. It's all built towards the shippers, towards the brokers, but nothing for the driver and for the carrier group. So it's really fantastic to see you guys really trying to break into the space and really try to help where truck or drivers really need the help, because there's not a lot of truck parking out there, and they need somewhere to rest and be able to take those breaks.
Yeah, for sure. We everything we do is really wrapped around the experience for the trucker in our business. And some of those decisions may not make the most sense from a profitability or capital expenditure standpoint. Um, but we know ultimately if we create a product that benefits the trucker the most, we will create a platform that provides a ton of value, and that value will translate to a great business. So we're hyper customer centric. Just everything about our business is really wrapped around that, and part of that is being set straight as far as like some initiative we're doing, and then we're like, ooh, that actually isn't the right way to go.
Yeah,
And a lot of times it is a matter of just talking with people on our team, because we have former truckers on the team and talk with them about, is this the right way to go? And when we get oh no, that is not fair to the trucker, or that is not right for the trucker, and then so we have to change course, or we have to not implement that thing, whatever that thing is, and that's absolutely okay, you know.
No, I absolutely love that. Now, as we wrap up here, Evan, where do you see, I guess, the future of truck parking over the next 5 to 10 years, and how are you guys planning ahead for the future of electric trucks? I know electric trucks are kind of a touchy subject in the industry right now. I know that we're probably not anywhere close to these being full OTR ready for the next 10 plus years. But are you guys thinking ahead in terms of that technology, and where do you guys see yourself in that next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we were, or I was sitting at lunch maybe an hour ago, and some EV guys sat down beside me. I didn't get to have much of a conversation with them, but they were talking with someone else on the table at the table, and um, they actually got up. They had to go, and then I think it was like an Uber Freight guy was talking, and he was asking me about electrification at our locations. And you know, I think if we, I I think ultimately it will all be EV. How
Mhm.
long is that going to take? I don't know. I think
Yeah,
it's not tomorrow, that's for sure. I do
yeah,
know
for sure.
that, but I don't know. It yeah, it could be a decade. Um, I don't follow it closely enough to have a strong pulse on it. But with that being said, if we execute our mission, we're at 97 properties now. We want to be to 5 to 10,000 in the next 5 years. And if we execute properly, we will have a very good idea and a very good relationship and connection with most of the truck parking in the US. Um, and from there, if there's a need, if there's a real need, we'll just reach out to our property members and implement, hey, we have this partner or these partners, we have this list of partners. We think electrification at your location would be great. Um, here's a list of partners we suggest, and here's why it makes sense for you. Um, you know what I mean? And we already have those
Absolutely.
relationships, so ultimately we can help roll that stuff out extremely quickly. So it's not a focus for us, but I think it can be a byproduct in 5 years where we have a strong relationship with a ton of truck parking locations, whether that be trucking companies or whatever. And
Mhm.
then we just have strong relationships, right? And at the end of the day, having those strong relationships is going to give us the ability to partner with a company or multiple companies and help roll it out. And that's would be a great additional way of creating a change in the industry.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. And I think we're a pretty long ways away from fully electrifying the truck fleet and um, cars in general. I think we're on the right path, but I think we've got a ways to go. But hey, Evan, I know you've got some time. I appreciate your time. I know you're at Future Freight or the Freight Waves conference in Cleveland, and I really appreciate you taking some time today. If you haven't heard of TruckParkingClub.com, you need to go check them out. They're really helping drivers with finding the right parking for them, and they are a really truck driver friendly and truck driver first organization, which is something I really advocate for here at ThinkFreight, which is why I really wanted to have Evan on. Evan, again, I really appreciate your time today. I'm looking forward to having you on again in the future. And I think I'll be seeing you on Friday at the Texas Trucking Show, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much
Awesome.
for having me on, and you'll definitely see me in Houston. We'll chat for a bit, maybe do another little short podcast or something.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. Stay safe, drive safe when you're coming down here. It's
Yeah,
hot, so be prepared. And
yeah.
we'll see you soon. Have a good
All
one.
right. Thanks. See ya.
Thanks,
Bye.
thanks, buddy.